Hi everyone, it's Lynn. Just wanted to talk today about our next color, and our next color is Chestnut, which I thought was fairly interesting when I pulled it. I was like, oh, what does this remind me of? And immediately it was the song Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, but I'm not sure that that really gives us a lot to go on. But I pulled some fabrics that I think are chestnutty. This probably isn't the best quilt for chestnut, but I don't think I have a quilt that's like mostly brown. So I pulled this one because one of the fabrics that I pulled is in this quilt. And I'm going to show you that picture. So this is what you can't see, and it's down on the below my shoulder, my left shoulder over here, is the, let me turn this on, is the, down my left shoulder, it's right there, if you can see, down my left shoulder, is this image, and I created this image from a pen that I had, a pen that you would wear on your, you know, jacket or something like that. And so this fabric in the teddy bear is what I think chestnut may be when we color it out. So that's my guess. So those are the kind of fabrics I chose to go with that. And I've got a batik and a print and a tone-on-tone, and we'll just see what we can, got a bunch of fabrics over here, so we'll just see what they look like when we see that. But this is of one of my other dogs that's not with us anymore. This is of Giacomo. He always carried around a teddy bear. So, and you'll notice that the teddy bear has a missing ear because Giacomo de-stuffed a lot of animals. He would get a toy and he would immediately pull out all the stuffing. I'm not sure why dogs do that, but mine very much did. They de-stuffed a lot of toys. So I tried to get the toys where they wouldn't de-stuff them, but I don't know that those exist. I think there's some that lasted a little bit longer, but not all. Anyway, so here is the print that's on the teddy bear that I just showed you that picture of. And I think that this is going to be a chestnut, so we'll see. All right, we got to get to our page. Emerald green, of course, was last week, and we didn't have that, so we used the, oh, I think I'm a little off. That's it's more red. Don't you think it's got more red in it? See, I would call this russet. I don't know. I mean, Crayola gets to it is a brown, but it is more of a red brown than just a brown. This has a little red in it, but not as much as this. This may be more, I think that red that looks like it's chestnut. I think if you look at, in this book that I have, The Secret Lives of Color, this one that we looked at, I think when I was reading the different colors that it would, yeah, look, I'm right. So Crayola calls it chestnut, but I think in this we're going to call it russet. And I was reading about russet, and russet comes from that red, it's a ruddy leaf color in autumn, and it is a reference to scarlet. Russet is to denote a type of cloth rather than a color. All right, part of the reason is that scarlet, a word russet used to denote a type of cloth instead of a color. Why scarlet was luxurious to the touch, beloved by the rich, and so dyed brightly red. Russet cloth was for the poor. So this is kind of, you know, we very much related color to a status, especially in Europe and in the 13, 14, probably to, you know, 1700s. Well, and I think we did that even after that, because if you think even in the 1800s, if someone died, they would wear mourning cloth and black and stuff. So, but this is russet. What did I do with my crayon? Oh, there it is. Now this, they're calling it chestnut, but I believe it's more of a russet. And we're on week 12. Huh. Very interesting. I do like the color, though. It does remind me of horses. It really, I cannot get away that this reminds me of horses. So these are close. So we'll look at what I've got anyway, because, you know, we're here and let's do it. But knowing that there's a lot more red in it, I'm going to guess that some of our browns that we choose are not going to go as well. Now, I did pull this blue here, but this has got more, these robins in this has more of the like gray tones and browns and not more of the red tones that we see here. So as much as I want to say blue goes with this, and I think you could get away with it, it's definitely not my favorite. Wow, I'm pulling stuff the last 2 weeks. I think with Emerald, I pulled stuff that wasn't my favorite as well. Now, I don't dislike the green though. And I think you could do these three together really well. That to me is an easy mix. Here's a darker brown, definitely more rich in that. But I think that if you look at this with this kind of muted tones, and I think it lends itself to some of those reds that we were talking about, or the scarlets that we were talking about. And then we're just letting these pick that up and pull that over. And I think these would work really good together. Like I like those two together just by themselves. Look at that batik. That batik goes well with it as well. Very cool. Love those. So you know, green and pinks are going to go with your russet or your red. This one we looked at last week, but I left it in the stack because it had that the brown in it. And I think that goes really well. So the green does go well with russet. Just think that's pretty. That's a nice color right there together. Don't you think? I don't hate that with it either. In fact, I kind of like that. This one I pulled because it's like a lot of print going on in it. Of course, red. And this is that book print that I told you I like so much. It has a lot of brown in it. Maybe we'll keep this one up here because that does have a lot of brown in it. Just compare some stuff back and forth. But look how that red goes with that. I think because it comes from scarlet, red's always going to go with this chestnut color. You know, it goes with all three of these. Right there. Love it. I still kept that. I think we saw this last week with the emerald stuff. It was close, so I kept it. But I love those greens with that russet. It makes sense to me that green and brown are going to go to each other, or the chestnut are going to go with each other, simply because we see that every day in nature. So, you know, you look at the trees and the green, sorry, the green on the trees. Forgive me, I got to take a drink. For the green on the trees, and I just think the green and the brown always are going to go together. They're always going to work. Kind of like this and this together, which has nothing to do with our color combo, but that may need to live next to each other. I have to think about that one. You know, after I do this, I pull stuff and I make things out of these. You're really just joining me for my own journey of wonder what I can make with this. Now, this is the one that we pulled with the emerald, and I was like, I like it, but it's too strong. But I really like it with this. Look at that. And I think because this is a softer color compared to that jewel tone of the emerald that we had. So this is going to give us like a softer look about it, which I think is really interesting. So that looks nice. Very cool. I'm going to do something with these birds. I don't know yet. But I really like them. I love this. I'm glad I bought a bunch of this. Now, this is that gray, and I think, I left the lemons out of it. This is the one that we pulled with the lemons, but I like this together, too. So gray's going to go well with this. And, of course, you know I'm going to pull orange. Orange is going to go well with the chestnut because it's got an orange. You know, orange and red always look good together, so you're going to pull that. And, of course, I love purple. I love this. This purple, I think, is harder to find than some other purples are because this is kind of a red violet or red purple. And I don't know. It's one. I find it. I'm more and more attracted to it. Now this has got some purple in it, so that's why that looks so good together, or that red violet together. But those two color combinations are one of my favorites. And then I pulled the peach. I think your peach is going to go. Of course, it's going to give you a much starker contrast. It's got fuzz on it. I admire these people who are able to get through life without, you know, if you don't have pets, I feel like I have dog hair and fabric on me, fabric fuzz on me all the time. Now this, I like this print, but it is one of those prints that has a different life depending upon, you know, because we're quilters, we cut these things into smaller bits. I think when you look at a print, you need to take that into consideration. So someone asked me online, they said, well, do you choose the pattern first or the print or the colors first and the fabric first? And I'm going to say both. Like, that's really hard for me to answer that question from the standpoint of, if I'm in love with this fabric and I decide I'm going to cut it up into a New York Beauty, and the pieces are 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, just looking at this one strip is going to give me very different look from here to here, right? Because I'm going to have pink or green or blue. But if I just cut this part, you would not know, unless you saw this in whole, in totality of it, you would not know that that's part of this fabric. So yes, I choose both kind of at the same time, or once I've decided on my fabric, then I'm very conscious about fabric placement. Like this goes with this perfectly, but that being said, this is going to have a bigger chunk of your block to really see the fabric, because if you start cutting it up into small pieces, and that's why, honestly, I think quilting and placement in blocks is a little bit more difficult than, unless you're a modern quilter and you're only using solids, it's a little bit more difficult because you're looking at the print in totality. You're looking at all of this together and knowing that if you're a 4-inch square is different than a 1-inch square, right? So like you can get just a little piece of it, which can be really fun when you're doing selective cutting or fussy cutting, I've heard people call it, you know, and you're like, I'm just going to get this little bunny. This is a bunny. I don't think you can see upside down. That's a little bunny. But if you're just going to cut that, yeah, that's really great. But if you're going to cut just a square and it ends up being this, and you're not selective cutting, then it's just the 4 corners of the book, right? So I do think you have to be a little bit more judicious in your thought process. Oh, this is another set that I bought that I think we looked at this last week, but I think that it bears to say that, you know, even though it looked really good with emerald, it also looks good with this chestnut as well. And look, I think that's probably more chestnut because it's got that red in it. Kind of a reddish brown. This is cute. I need to think about this. This is really cute. And then maybe with this in it. I don't know. This has a different feel to me. This is more cartoony. This is more, I don't know, graphic maybe in the drawings. Bum, bum, bum. Anyway, I like those. Like it, like it, like it. All right, green. Let's pull some greens in here and see how greens look. I like the green and brown, but, you know, these are different green than we looked at earlier. These are the more spring green or brighter green chartreuse. This is the one that I'm in love with the black, this one. I'm going to do something with this one in black. This old Tula pink, I know I've said that last time. See, I just have threads everywhere. How do they get? But those look good together. Of course, it picks up some of that. I like that. All right, very cool. I just throw them on the floor, and then there's this big pile over here I have to clean up. purple. I'm going to pull in some purple. This is more true purple than the red purple that we saw earlier, the red violet that we saw earlier. Definitely looks good with that one. Yeah. This is kind of the big graphic kind of print with the, it's got the taupes and the grays in the background. I think it looks fine with this. You would get away with it. Of course, I think that you see, like in the quilt behind me, you know, those batiks will look good with it as well. Pink and brown. You know, there was a whole trend where they were doing brown and pink quilts. They were kind of a reproduction of the brown and pink quilts, but yeah, definitely. Okay, this was my first pull because it made me think of Christmas, and this is a Christmas print with the deer. It's got a lot of glitter in it, so I've not used it. I think I bought it on sale at one of those big box stores because I just liked the look of it. But it's not something I would put in a quilt, I'll be honest with you, because of the reflective glitter kind of. Can you see that? It's kind of got a glitter to it. I think you can see it. Yeah. It's scratchy. It's not soft, which I like it, but it's definitely something that would be more decorative than something I would want to have next to my face, or, you know. When you think about quilts, I think about that. This is one of the prints I also thought of because of the horses on it. I did a double wedding ring quilt, ring wedding, with this in it and framed it up, and it turned out super cute. I put it in the middle, you know, the kind of middle of the rings, and I kind of fussy cut it to where it would look really cute. But it turned out really well. This is an autumn piece, and of course I think it goes really well because it's got all those same kind of colors in it. But it shows blacks and grays, and this also has a gold metallic look to it with some of the metallic parts on the edge of the feathers, which I think really look neat. You know, I think for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, we've seen tons of feather prints, like lots of prints with feathers. Oh, and I pulled some of these. Okay, so this is William Morris. Like it works, but it's not like, I'm not going out of my way to put that together. But it does work, you know. And by the way, I have no rules that say batiks can't go with a reproduction of another era. Or that I think if it's a print, or if it's a solid, or if it's a batik, if it's fabric, it can go in my quilt. There's no rules for me about this is from this time period and I can only use things that look like that. That doesn't work for me. I'm like, I bought it, I can use it how I want. So anyway, but that's a fox. It's kind of, I got a fox and pumpkins. Even though this brown's not in here, this is a navy that I do think will work together. Definitely like this. Now this I bought a ton of this, and because I loved it, and it's K-Facet. And one of the reasons I loved it is because it's not a common color combination for him. Most of the time you see him doing really bright stuff, and this is more muted, and it's in the browns and tans, and it stood out to me because it wasn't his normal kind of color combination, and I think I bought 3 yards of it because I was like, I love this muted kind of look. And to me, just right here, these could all go together. They could definitely all live together. But this I bought probably 4 or 5 years ago and love it because of that. Now I haven't used it yet because I'm waiting for the right, you know. Do you have fabric that's on hold? It's on hold till it finds its friends. That's what happens. Okay, I'm going to pull all these stone and black and whites. We forgot to look at those with the emerald, but we're going to do it with this one. Now to me, these are going to go, they're always going to go with this group, and here's why. And they're going to all go together. Like, I don't have a problem with any of these with this chestnut or any of these prints. In fact, you know, some of them look quite stunning with it, right? And the reason I think these are all going to go, and I know there's no, you know, masculine or feminine colors, but there are some colors that seem to be, you know, more attractive or used by, you know, other specific genders. And to me, this does read a little bit more masculine and would make a beautiful quilt. It's just, it's going to be toned down. It's not going to be as bright that you're going to see in men's offices. Or some of this even reminds me, like this does remind me of a man's tie. Actually, this print does. So definitely, I think that these are all those kind of neutral type colors. And chestnut's going to be a neutral type color too. That is going to go with a lot of ways. But just putting these together, just like this, I think would be a really interesting, beautiful quilt, right? Because they're all kind of in that same type of tonal, neutral type of things. And it looks good with this, too. I know we did this. Oh, wow, that looks nice. And I know this has a lot going on, but it does kind of have that brown stuff. I don't know. I just love that fabric. Ooh, that looks good with it, too. Someone wrote in the comments, this is like, they wanted to come to my house and just pull fabric with me. And I like just pulling fabric. And I will tell you that pulling fabric and playing with it like this, I think you will find yourself using your stash more. If you have your stash where you can see it, which I know is a commitment and room issue for some people, this is definitely, I think it works with cream. It's always going to work with cream. I mean, these aren't the best prints with it, only because this has a lot of dots going on. I mean, they work. It works. It does. I don't hate it. Not my favorite. That new, it's kind of in between. It's more even with black and white. Again, not my favorite, but they would work. It wouldn't, it doesn't not work. Does that make sense? I should show you, I think you're seeing kind of how I store my fabric. This is how my fabric's stored. So these are comic book backer boards. These are comic book backer boards that I get at the comic book store, or I order them online. And so what I do is I get the 7 by 10, I think, is the size that I use for my yardage. And then I get the 8.5 by 11, and I take it to, you know, like FedEx or Office Max or Office Depot, and I have them cut it into 4. So I have them cut it across, and I have them cut it up and down. And then that gives me 4, and that's what I wrap my felt quarters on. You can wrap a ½ yard on these smaller ones. I don't. I usually put the ½ yard on the bigger ones, but these are normally fat quarters, and this is yardage. So it's at least a yard, if not, or ½ yard, if not more than that. And I use safety pins. You can see I just order safety pins like off of the internet. And they're not too expensive. They're pretty inexpensive. And then I just do them with safety pins. Now, I know some people don't like to pin their fabric, and I get that. So don't do it. Don't do it. If you don't like to do it, don't do it. That's my answer. So, okay, so the mustard definitely goes. Again, the scarlet is going to go with this. Like, to me, this is just, it's going to live in the warm environment really super easy. These are those art gallery. I think I'm due for my next art gallery shipment, because this is the last one. Remember, we liked these two together last time, but we didn't like them with the green. Or we liked that peach with the green, but not that other peach that was really light. I don't love this with this, but it's okay. It doesn't, you know, that definitely looks good. This may be a little neon for it. I don't know that that's working. I was wondering how these would look with it. Yeah. I don't know. I'm liking more of the muted tones with it than the really, although those aren't bad. I kind of like that. I think that's interesting. I pulled a bunch of peach because I just, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do with these now that I'm looking at them. We're going to have to figure something out. We will have to. Okay, I set that over here. This is a group, I think you've seen this, but this was a group I bought off the internet on one of those flash sales kind of thing. And it's a group of like food trucks and food truck whatever. And I thought it goes with this brown really well. And because these are only, I think only half yards or fat quarters. No, they're half yards. I think that this brown, if I didn't have enough, this brown would definitely go with them. It goes with this group well, right? So, and what's nice about this group is you're seeing yellows and pinks and blues and more chocolate brown and cream. I mean, it even goes with the pink. Did I finish that thought? My husband accuses me of not finishing thoughts. So pink and green were really, pink and green. No. Brown and pink were a big color combination from reproduction fabrics that you saw trend about 10 years ago. I don't know. So, anyway, kind of thing. But I like those. I like these with it. I think that the chestnut will definitely work with that. Very cool. And the lobster, like, you know, on this one fabric, the lobster's not really red. It's more brown. It's cooked. It's yummy. I haven't had lobster for a really long time, but I like it. It's good. Then I pulled this green. Of course, I love the green and the brown together. That's always going to work. Looks good with that, too. Yay. Okay. My last two fabrics is I bought both of these. So, you're only going to see parts of it. But this is, remember those, well, I think you've seen them online. People have quilted these really amazingly. These are the prints by, I think it's Anderson Design Group. Riley Blake put them out, and they were of the different national parks. And so I made a couple of quilts out of these for family members, and it's the Great Smoky Mountains. We grew up near the Great Smoky Mountains, so anything in Tennessee is really precious to us or to our heart. So I did buy, I bought a bolt of this because I liked the prints. But I was just going to show you, this has got all of those, you know, russet chestnut colors in it. And look how it's done with the teals and the blues. And then this one, you're going to get the more autumn colors with the river going through it. But there were four, show you, and then the beautiful, I love the bears. I love the bears. So this was a part of that group, and I felt like, you know, it's going to have the look that's definitely going to live with this. And I'm pretty sure I even used some of this fabric in the quilts that I ended up making for them. But this has got your Smoky Mountains with the bears and the greens down here, National Park. And then the other big one was the foothills where you see the autumn leaves go out. So you've got the purples and the greens and the yellows. And this is just going to fit right in with that. So I thought that would be interesting for you to see that bolt of. And I don't know what else I'm going to do with it, but I'll probably make some more quilts out of it because it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful collection. A beautiful collection. So love it. And I bought the other part of the collection that I liked so much, I bought a bolt of it as well. And this I was going to show you because I think it'll show you just the in-depth aspect of it. But this is all of the national parks, not just the Smoky Mountains. So you can see how this brown just is going to go with every color of this. So you can see the Smoky Mountains to Mount Olympia, the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, Shenandoah, Sequoia, you know, Big Bend. And then I think they even had some, they have some, like in Hawaii, the Great National Park of American Samoa. Let's do this way, and you'll see the other side of this. This is such a pretty fabric. I've done this a couple ways. I've used it in the one that I made of the Great Smoky Mountains, but so this is the Hawaiian volcanoes, and then you've got the Gateway Arch from St. Louis, Death Valley. I mean, oh, you can't see that. Let me scoot that down. Death Valley. So we just wanted to show you that, look, this brown could go with absolutely any of those. The background to this is black, just so you know that this border around here is black. But you can see where these just have a beautiful, I don't know, I just fell in love with this fabric. Fell in love with it. And I've been to Denali, so that was kind of cool to see that. You know, just in some of the ones that I'd been to, Smokies and Gateway and Denali and... Anyway, so that is our chestnut talk. I hope you found some inspiration. I hope you found maybe that we can look at, I think we're finding this with all the colors that we're looking at. We're just like, what are ways that I can use it? And maybe what are ways that, you know, other people haven't thought of, or that we could think about, you know, how those colors work together. So anyway. Hope you all are having a great day, and we will see you soon for the next crayon color that we pull and see which one we like with that. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.